Good morning, Pakistan, and welcome back again. We are going to start with our second segment of World this morning. So, Hajra, now I believe that we are going to start with a very interesting discussion about the culture, the cultural economy, and how the culture can play a pivotal role in uplifting the economy of the people.
That's very true, and there's no denying the fact that Pakistan has a very diverse culture. So from north to south, you will find that there is diversity of ethnicity, there is diversity of languages, and obviously so the culture changes. And in order to celebrate that diversity, in order to celebrate that diversity of different languages, ethnicity, and culture, we have a very wonderful guest in our studio who is going to talk about it and is going to explain what is the cultural economy means in the first place and how Pakistan can get benefited from the cultural economy. We are very glad that we have been joined by Ms. Ayesha Khan. She happens to be a development expert. Assalamu alaikum, madam, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you for having me.
Right. So madam, why don't you explain to our audiences and especially to layperson like us, what exactly is the cultural economy?
So the cultural economy, very simply, constitutes what it defines is people, individuals, businesses, and communities that transform our cultural skills, our knowledge and ideas, or whatever constitutes culture. As you rightly pointed out, it's about our cuisine, it's also our architecture, it's our sports, it's our literature, it's our arts and crafts, and just the entire range of how we do things. In fact, it even includes the natural environment, because the natural environment influences our culture, how we do things, our dress code. You know, in different areas of the world, you wear different clothing. So all of that constitutes culture. And the economy means transforming those symbols and factors into products and services.
Right, but I'm very intrigued by this point of view is that, you know, the natural environment, it influences the economy as well and the culture as well. So can you elaborate a little bit more that how and what factors of the natural environment actually influence the culture and the economy as well?
Well, for example, in certain parts of the country, like in the mountain areas, the flowers you have, the flora you have, the fauna that you have, you know, the animals, for example, markhor or snow leopard, and the food we have, the fruit that grows, that's all part of the natural environment. Even the soil in Punjab, the water, the soil, that's part of our natural environment, and that influences our agriculture. So, you know, our production. So things within our natural environment. Now, directly, how does it influence us? The fruit we eat. For example, there are apricots in the north or mangoes in the south of the country. We make a pickle from mangoes. The oil that we use, all of these contribute to the economy, to the local economy.
Right. So, Ms. Ayesha, since you belong to the hospitality sector and you have a vast experience in particular sector, and how much do you think the local community play a role when you talk about the cultural economy? So, for example, let's narrow it down to hospitality business or cuisines in particular, right? So, if you go to northern areas, their cuisine is different, and like you mentioned, and weather impacts that cuisine, right? So, cold weather requires the cuisine which is more acclimatized to your body temperatures and whatnot. So, and when we talk about the local communities, and especially when we talk about the tourism here in Pakistan, we've seen that the tourism is not very responsible in the first place. So people go there, they are not very conscious of the fact that they might be degrading the environment there. How can we make local communities more of a change agent there so they can more have a ownership of that particular community, of that particular cultural economy, and they make sure that the environment is not damaged in the first place?
Okay, thank you for that question. Just a quick clarification. I belong to more than the hospitality sector,
wonderful.
Being a development expert, so social and economic growth and climate change. So I work in sustainable development. I am on the board of Hashu Group, but my work encompasses more than that. Going back to what you said about tourism and you know, the challenges that it presents to local communities, I think the biggest intervention in a way that, or something that we need to be mindful of, and there are groups and non-profit organizations that work on that, is awareness.
Right.
You know, creating that awareness, that sense of responsibility. I mean, a couple of generations ago, there used to be a class called civic responsibilities used to be taught, and I think
Yes.
Again, it's over time, during increasing consumerism, we've become irresponsible by way of, you know, the littering we do, the kind of pollution
I agree,
that we create
definitely.
around us, and I think there needs to be awareness, maybe even fines for those who pollute. With regard to the community in local areas, they need to be trained on how to manage in terms, you know, tour guides, or manage their community or their environment for training. So I'm just, you know, because there isn't enough time, so I'm just kind of giving the basics about awareness and training.
Please.
I think that is
Sure.
something that needs
Sure,
to be
sure.
emphasized, and where the government can play a role is maybe just you know, fines and just following through, so everyone is equally fined, and you know, both elite communities as well as the locals are, if they're being irresponsible, they
It should be equal for
equally
everyone.
be taken
Because
to
I
task.
remember that Hajra, I
Right.
visited Hunza, I believe a year ago. So one of the remarkable things that I witnessed over there was the cleanliness over there in the
Yes.
Karimabad city.
Yes, yes.
So what the local people were doing, you mentioning about the policing regarding the littering, so they were imposing fines, like you are not allowed to throw a wrapper on the floor or on the road.
Yes.
So talking about the policing, what other measures do you think should be introduced in order to, you know, inculcate responsibility among the people, and how the local communities, they should be involved to harness a more, you know, a sustainable environment?
And one thing that is very important, especially when you talk about tourism and incorporating the local community element, is, Madam Ayesha, that whenever you go and ask someone, you know, what is the way, so they're very important because they are living there and they know the entire area, right?
Exactly.
So it's very important that we also invest in their training, so you know how they can be more hospitable, how they can be more warm to the incoming
Exactly.
tourists out there, right?
So, so for tourism, you need infrastructure, and of
Yes.
course, those are the roads and other things required. So, you have eateries, then you should have those bins and disposable bins. Another opportunity in this waste is recycling the waste, you know,
Right.
and turning it into. Now we know that waste can be turned into profit, and you can make several things out of
Yes.
plastic and
True.
paper and cardboard. So I think little factories can be set up in the local vicinities to recycle waste.
Right. but
Now,
do
a
you-
youngster from Hunza area, she told me, we don't need this tourism. People are so irresponsible, for
And
want of a
unethical.
better, and
Unethical,
insensitive,
true,
you know, so they're
Right.
very upset.
Yes.
And although majority of the people going there are highly educated,
and they're actually harness the
and
environment
the way
over
that
there.
they litter is absolutely shocking. I mean, I've traveled on Babu Sar Pass and the kind of litter, but I must say, I mean, it is improving. There are
Yes.
youth groups
Yes.
that you know, are creating
Yes,
awareness.
this is true.
And I think that the local government should facilitate rather than it shouldn't just be by way of penalties, but also
Incentivizing.
reward,
Yes.
positive you know, support that is given. So maybe holding contests for those who don't litter, or kind of volunteer to clean up an area. So, and you know, kind of giving them that recognition and promotion. So we're talking about behavioral change, and for behavioral change you have to have penalties as well as reward. So it's a bit of a carrot and stick approach.
Right.
Because if it's just a stick approach, it won't work.
It won't work.
And if it's just, you know, carrot, just a reward, that won't
So
work either.
there needs to be a balance.
A balance,
So
of
mashallah,
course.
madam, you have such a diverse experience in the hospitality sector as well. And mashallah, you were speaking so eloquently. So
Right.
over the period of time, what are the behavioral changes that you have witnessed in the people?
Yes.
Has it become better or has it gone worse?
So I think as I see the younger generation, it's become better.
Right.
They invest their time, there are more volunteers, they're more mindful. You know, several startups have been, and I myself as a IFC World Bank certified and trained enterprise development trainer and
Wonderful.
teacher. So
Brilliant.
I've trained youngsters. I'm on the board of incubation centers. So what I've support is to help establish startups, and there are many startups. I think there's one in Islamabad called Saaf Suthra Sheher,
Wonderful.
Right.
and there are many others. I forget the names. You know, from Islamabad to the whole of Pakistan. In Karachi, technology is leveraged to, you know, clean drains and come up. So quite a bit is happening, you know, so that I see a positive change. Having said that, I think maybe local governments or the kind of policy environment needs to be a bit more supportive. And of course, everything we are talking about the economy, because we are within a political and economic environment.
That's true.
And for any kind of development and growth, you need a bit of stability.
True.
So that is something that recently we're faced with. These are some of the...
Right. And Madam, what are some of the challenges which you envision can be in the way of developing a more vibrant cultural economy in Pakistan in particular?
So first of all, going back to the concept of cultural economy, very few people understand what it's about.
Right.
I mean, I want you to, if you imagine the Scandinavian countries, IKEA, right? That's part of their cultural heritage.
Yes.
The wood or the pine wood,
Yes.
and then they developed it into a product that they can sell, or various others. So we generally just think about handicrafts or embroidery or what have you. That it's much more than that. And like I said, it's the entire range of products and services that will help strengthen the local economy. People can add, they can bring in their knowledge, their expertise, you know, even making pickles and jams and jars, everyone
Right.
makes it differently, making cookies. Also in Balochistan, there's a game called Hashti, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Hashti.
Okay, wonderful.
And we don't know about it. Majority of us in
Yes.
Pakistan, it's a beautiful game, and that is something that I'd like to promote. So I've established my own non-profit called the Sustainable Cultural Economy
Definitely,
Organization.
promoting the local cultural norms is very
and helping,
important.
yeah. And so what it does is it also helps facilitate social harmony and peace.
Right.
So when we are comfortable with our own identities, we are proud of our, as Pakistanis,
Yes.
of our cultural heritage.
Yes.
That enables us to, you know, be more tolerant of others around us, and
Right.
to realize that yes, we have our uniqueness, but we all go through the cycle of birth and, you know, getting married and becoming more mature and being happy and sad and celebrating weddings and whatnot. And it's in a different way, and we should be happy about it, as
Right.
you
Well,
said.
definitely, Pakistan is indeed a beautiful land having beautiful cultures. I mean,
Absolutely.
as you have said, Hajra, that, you know, beauty lies in the diversity
Right.
of the cultures that are present in Pakistan. So, Madam Ayesha, thank you so much for your time, for your participation in the world this morning. And it was wonderful to have you to speak about not just the culture,
Yes.
but how culture can, you know, uplift the economy and the sustainability of the people as well.
Thank you so much for coming here, and with that we will wrap up our segment and we will say Allah Hafiz. So until next time, it's a goodbye and good morning.
Pakistan.